We'll be beginning our council meeting in 30 seconds. Anyone offer the kids to come up and lead the pledge? Thank you, kids.
Uh-oh.
7:30, I'd like to call to order the city council meeting
for August
August
17,
17,
2020.
2020. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the roll, please.
Elzeth,
Here.
Clistic,
Here.
Gustafson,
Here.
Kenny,
Here.
Shower,
Here.
Sullivan,
Here,
Vaughn,
Here.
7 present.
We have a quorum. Normally, number 5 on our agenda is questions and comments and announcements of a general nature. So we allow residents to come up and present us with something for a period of 3 minutes. That's not necessarily on our agenda. Tonight, we're going to deviate from that, and we're going to conduct our discussion tonight on this issue that I think brought most of you here. What I'm going to do is ask Mr. Dan Dombeck, who some of you have been in contact with, to give his overview, and then I'll allow speakers to come forward. And I would ask that if you come forward, you please be reminded that you have 3 minutes, and I will stop you if you extend beyond that 3 minutes. So, Mr. Dombeck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, City Council and our viewing residents at home and within the City Council chambers. This is a follow-up on chicken raising and beekeeping from our last City Council. As we're all aware, I think there's been a number of increasing numbers of residents that have decided to either entertain beekeeping and or chicken raising primarily for their eggs. Over the last couple of years, been a lot of inquiries. It's been getting more so during this pandemic. With that said, again, residents are raising chickens for their eggs. Also, beekeeping, while that's less intensive, they're raising them for the honey. This all refers to residential properties. Currently, the city does not regulate chickens and or bees. Only thing we do regulate is nuisance calls, for example, roosters. With that said, there's education out there that I've been educated myself, along with a resident that has recently educated me even more in respect to raising the chickens, particularly chickens in this case, and the benefits and how it could be sanitary and well kept. This evening, when I'm done with my report, I'm going to introduce to you Heather Conroy, who will give about a 5 to 7 minute presentation as a resident who represents a group of people, residents and non-residents, in regards to chicken raising. We have an attachment labeled as Attachment A within your report, within the agenda this evening, or under my director's report. We have attempted to put as many municipalities as we could together for the timing of this presentation this evening. There's a lot of variables. So again, that's just for information purposes at this point. If the city council would like to recommend something back to the mayor in regards to sending it back to the committee with any specific parameters. We've attached some definitions on here as well. We'll read them verbatim. Obviously, they're within the packet, within my memo. And quantities. One of the things that I do want to mention is with respect to the quantities, we as staff had a limit of 6. Why 6? It's an arbitrary number. It seemed to be reasonable, but it may not be reasonable to residents and residents that have chickens. The bees, we basically said limit to 2 units. Again, those will get into more detail on a committee level if this is presented for committee. Additional regulations that we're looking at, and this is for the city council and the committee to consider. Again, it's going to be grandfathering of existing residents that have chickens and or beekeeping. A permit process. Well, I don't want to refer to it as a permit process. The permit process would be more of a registration, and for the city to have a right to access the property if and when there is a concern, whether it's sanitation concerns and or limits of chickens and or structures. Setbacks. Setbacks primarily are going to be 10 foot from the side yard lines or from the back. Again, it's an arbitrary number. 10 foot seems to be reasonable as it refers back to some of the zoning regulations that we currently have in place. Structures. Structures, we will not regulate. The structures themselves, if anyone is familiar with them, they're basically, excuse the expression, but chicken wire, along with some poles is probably the most generic terminology I could refer to it as. Prohibited uses is going to be selling of eggs. Obviously, after reading several reports, speaking with Heather, it's not profitable to be running a chicken egg business for the simple reason that you would have to produce many more eggs, in which case means many more chickens. Sanitation. Sanitation is something that we're going to be looking at as well, whether it's defining what are conditions of sanitation. Violations and or penalty fees will also be introduced within the ordinance, again, if all this is recommended back for a committee to be looking at. Pending any city council direction, city staff will begin to prepare the model ordinances. But at this point, I'd like to introduce Heather Conroy to you, who's in the audience, and just to have additional feedback from a resident that has been very active and vocal with the chicken raising, primarily for eggs. Mr. Mayor, if you could ask Heather to come up, please.
Just state your name. No address, this is you.
No.
Keep it in. Okay.
You might want to raise that microphone so that they can hear you.
Raise it towards me.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I'm Heather Conroy. I've lived here since 2016. I'm an active in the community as much as possible through the schools, Dairy and Women's Club, and the Rotary Club. I have 2 children, 3 and 8 years old, and I run a Facebook private group called Suburban Chicago Backyard Chickens. The total membership is 596 members, of which 538 are active, meaning that they contribute, they comment, they like, they share, they read the page regularly. We share tips and tricks, ideas, YouTube videos, and of course we share our chicken stories with each other. Before I moved here, I called the local towns in the area while we were looking to buy a house, and I found that Darien did allow chickens by default with no ordinance. I first got chickens after a lot of research and attending the Cook County Farm Bureau Backyard Chicken Raising presentation by Purina in 2017 with my father-in-law and daughter, and becoming a chicken owner is not like getting a cat or dog. These are outdoor animals. Some like to have them inside, but for the most part, they are backyard pets and food providers. Currently, I have 5 chickens, of which one is an older, non-laying hen I was given, and we got 4 young ones this year. We have had 2 previously that passed away after the age of 1 year and almost 3. I would say a typical feed store chicken has a 50 to 60% chance of making it their whole life, which life expectancy is only 5 to 7 years old, depending on the breed. So when you talk about age, chicks, you always get them as chicks usually, and that's from 1 to 4 weeks old from a local supplier like a feed store or a breeder. And those that come in broods. The broods range from March to April. At 5 to 15 weeks old, they are already teenagers. And at 18 weeks old is when they start laying. So basically, a 5 to 6 month old chicken will start to be an egg producer. At that point, they look like and basically are adult chickens. They have 4 to 5 good years of laying, all of which is conditional. Again, I estimate there's a large percentage of those that only last half their age that they could live on, depending on how and where they came from. If you're lucky, at 5+ years old, they are in retirement and no longer produce and at the end of their natural lives. When your new chickens are ready to go outside and their fluffy down has turned to feathers, typically at 8 weeks old, they can be moved outside to a coop. Before that, they are kept in brooder boxes with heat lamps inside. There's an introduction period of at least a week to the current chickens that you might have, which is a process that you have to oversee all day and is labor intensive, depending on the chickens. Chickens are highly territorial.
Maybe get a little further away, the sound is not really loud.
Oh, okay.
I got a text, there's a little vibration now, so.
Maybe right here?
Yeah.
Okay. No problem. So, okay, so it's not easy. Chickens are highly territorial. It's not easy to do an introduction when you have chickens pass away and get new ones. So when you get new ones, it must be at least 2 or more. Typically, it should be more than the number you currently have. Due to the reintroduction process, age of the chickens that they last to and other variables, I would recommend an 8 chicken limit. So the expense, there's many expenses and hours and dollars go into making these chicken coops. That's the hobby part. Always upgrading, making new water systems, chicken pen run areas, modifications. Think of it like tending to a garden. It's something that you always have to do. And if you don't keep it up, especially with sanitation, your garden will not provide. This is where our online group and watching videos and tips and tricks come in for constant learning and making things better. Chicken coops without supplies with the chicken pen and run cost anywhere from $350 to $600, depending on what you get. Supplies to build your own and modifications are less, but not by much. To lay eggs, which could be 1 a day, all depends on the breed. At least 14 hours of sunlight is needed to stimulate the cycle. Anything less in the cycle will not stimulate. A good, healthy diet and clean, well-taken environment and a happy, healthy chicken. In the winter, it is common for them not to produce, and when they molt twice a year, which typically depends on the weather we're having, it's in the spring and fall. Eggs are kept on the counter and until you wash them. There's a fine film that when washed, breaks the integrity of the egg, and therefore it needs to be refrigerated. Store-bought eggs are refrigerated because they've already been pre-washed. You have to collect the eggs daily because chickens will peck at those that are left in the coop that are not fertile. The eggs you eat are unfertile. Mating has to occur before the egg is laid. If you were to have a rooster, which is any backyard egger's worst nightmare, you would have to candle the eggs, meaning you have to look inside the egg with a special light to see if there's a blood vein or basically the beginnings of the baby chick. So we collect the eggs, and when you want to use them, you do a water test. You can do it and store the eggs well past the dates that you see on your store-bought eggs.
What you can do is, even with them, you can take a glass of water, put the egg in. If it goes to the bottom, it's good.
If it floats, it's rotten. And it means air has gotten in, which means bacteria could have. Once the test is done with water, you quickly wash the egg and use it or store in the fridge. Eggs are washed can last 3 to 5 weeks in the fridge and about a year up to a year in the freezer. You can even water can eggs for 6 months, or you can pickle them up to a year. Anyone selling fresh eggs to neighbors and family would only be doing that. There's no profit in it unless you had a huge farm fleet of chickens. 2 chickens eat about $30 worth of feed food, and that doesn't include mealworms and treats. Anyone selling eggs would be recouping a little cost here and there. So in order to have those good eggs, sanitation is a must. We help each other in the groups with what bedding works best, the new products that are out. But did you know that chickens eat mice, small snakes, flies, ants, bugs, and small rodents? They are anything but herbivores. In anything that would attract rodents, bugs, that would be something like a bird feeder, where nothing's underneath to eat it that comes by. Garbage cans, standing water. Before we got our chickens, we had many bugs and noticed a drastic decrease since buying our house in 2016 when we got the chickens in 17. We actually have our coop and run right outside our back door in the backyard. The bigger the chicken run is, the better. And the chicken run is an enclosed area for protection that the chickens can run in. This usually is either attached to the coop or it's put over the entire coop area. All of this, the coop and run, are predator proof, meaning we dig down on the sides, we line with sheet metal so animals can't dig in. Therefore, I would recommend an optimal outside cage of 225 square feet or a 15 by 15. So roosters, just to let you know, baby chicks are missexed all the time. It happens often. You might have some things that make you question before it can be confirmed, but confirmation can't happen until they're in the teenager stage. And that's when they either start crowing or it doesn't lay an egg, unless you take it to a vet that will see a chicken, which would be highly expensive when you're talking about a $2 chicken. There are also quiet roosters. Every chicken's different, and us backyard chicken raisers rehome our roosters as soon as possible. But it's a responsibility. I have had to remove suspected cockfighters from my chicken group. I have had other chicken groups I belong to. Us admins do talk and look out for each other. Chicken fighting is a thing, and they prey on our group for free roosters. I would say from finding out you have a rooster within a 1 month would be a reasonable amount of time to figure out where to responsibly rehome it to. We do it for the eggs, not the meat, so we don't want roosters. But you need to be aware that this is not a quick and as simple as a process as one might think. I could go on for a while about all the interesting facts on these animals, but I don't want to waste and bore you with details. I would like to try to answer and field any questions I can on backyard chicken raising, and I can speak for myself and a few other friends in Darien who are chicken owners, and I know there's more. We welcome an ordinance that protects us and our rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to having chickens on property? I heard that we were going to have an individual here.
I thought 3 minutes, she got to go 7.5, but I'll just let that go.
Just state your name then, please.
My name is Jim Friday. I'm here on behalf of my wife, Marie. I do have a letter that I'll leave with some pictures and things from the Alderman and South Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I am not against chickens. Raise your signs, don't chicken. I'm for chicken. I really am. Thank you. I am not against chickens. I'm against the chicken coop that I can see from my front yard. I'm against the chicken coop that is displayed as soon as people pull into my driveway, 10 to 15 feet from my house. That eliminates the ability for me to get full potential out of my house if and when I want to sell that. I am against the idea that it's not being maintained. Then the pictures that I've given you are fly traps that I've had to install with thousands, hundreds, if not thousands of flies. And also, we've had to change our lifestyle because of the odor. We used to eat on our back deck all the time. Now we occasionally can't. We used to sleep with our windows open all the time. Now we occasionally can't. I don't mind the chickens. My grandkids like to go over there once in a while. But and the kids interact with the kids of the owners of the chicken coop. But it is an eyesore when it's that far from your front yard and you can't do anything about it. I would love to build a privacy fence. I can't because it's my front yard. Darien law says I can't build a fence there. I'm asking that the city change and amend rules so that there's a privacy fence built so that I cannot see it from my front yard. Also, I am a member of the Darien Swim and Recreation Club, and it's visible from the parking lot and the people visiting that facility. And I think that becomes potentially an eyesore for that option too. Other coops that are in our neighborhood have fences and bushes to protect the neighbors from that vision and that side of things. I think also city council needs to take into consideration the possibility of diseases. They need to take into consideration the value of the other houses, the noise level that it can cause. You need to be able to make sure that people control those things also. I do like chicken. I like Brewster's, I like Popeyes, I like Chuck's barbecue chicken. I don't mind the chicken in the subdivision in Darien. I do mind an eyesore coop that's impacting my house. It's impacting my life after 37 and a half years of that house. To have to change my lifestyle is not right. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers who'd like to address the council tonight? If you want to come forward, please, and state your name.
Hi, I'm Melissa Goodrich. I'm kind of what this whole chicken thing is about.
Melissa, you might want to raise that microphone. We're not picking you up.
I'm Melissa Goodrich.
Okay.
Can you hear me better? So, my coop is what Jim is speaking of. Just like Jim just said, I don't mind chickens in the neighborhood. I don't mind chickens. So I think that's what we should all go off of. Chickens, if they don't have a coop, where are they going to go? I don't know. So they have the coop. I do want to explain that there might have been some misinformation about where my coop is located. My house is on a corner lot. So my backyard backs up to Jim and Marie's side yard. That's why they can see it from their front yard. If I were to move my coop in any direction, it would either go closer to Jim and Marie's home or go closer to the other neighbor's home on the other side. Or it would go closer to my side yard, meaning more visible. It is a large coop. It is open. Yes, it is visible. Every single night that I am outside, I have neighbors pass by. And I have only heard positive comments on an every single day basis. I have many people also on social media who are very local, who are in support of backyard chicken owning, even to the point where they are getting their own chickens because of the influence that I have had on them. This has brought a lot of value to my family, especially in this time of COVID. I have very young children of 4 and 3 years old. They have learned the value of keeping up the coop. It's actually very well kept. I'm sure Jim has provided some photos. You're going to see on those photos where my picnic bench is. It's directly next to my chicken coop, which I eat outside all of the time. So if I don't have an issue eating outside directly next to my coop, I don't really know where their flies are coming from. Maybe from the food that they are eating. I don't know. I don't have flies in my home. The fact that they have hundreds is not
my problem. I don't know where they came from, but maybe they should look into that.
Either
Either way,
the
the
Fridays
have actually befriended us for the 3 years that I've lived there.
They have
They have
brought
brought
food
food
to my chickens
on numerous occasions. They have spoken highly of how
our family has interacted with them.
And so
I
I really
actually not before today
have I even realized this has been an issue. Nobody has come to me about anything other than the rooster, which we do not own any longer. The rooster is gone.
So if they
So
would
if they would have come to me, I might have been able to speak to them.
I don't
I don't really know where this is coming from. I have fly traps in the coop itself. I keep it up every single day. It's part of our homeschool curriculum. It's a curriculum in a lot of other schools too. They have chicken keeping in other outdoor schools.
In regards to it being an eyesore, I don't really see it. I know Jim was quoted saying it was offensive.
I don't understand. That's a very privileged tone that I don't get. I don't know what could be offensive. But I do know Darien is looking to incorporate first-time homeowners, new families, and I promise you, every single person of that demographic has been all for the chickens. Even if they know nothing about chickens, they think it is pretty darn cool. So, even people across the way that are in a higher generation, they also have come to me. I've never spoken to them a day in my life saying, this is really cool. I really hope that it goes well for you tonight. So I hope that you can represent this entire community as I speak for them, that this is a really great thing for our community. It's not going to do anything other than increase our property values.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Does anybody on the council have any questions for any of our speakers tonight?
Mary?
I have a communication from a resident about this matter. Should I hold off in sharing it or?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mary.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if hold off. You meant hold off. I received a communication from Kelly Glisson, and he wanted to say that he is in opposition of allowing chicken coops on the side of houses. He was quite surprised that this would be allowed, especially in subdivisions, where you have homes, very much close to each other. He said that we are not a farming community, that we are a residential community, and that it's not appropriate to be in this location, especially because, for instance, the subdivision he lives in, it's like lot line to lot line, where the homes are very tightly located. And he said, when you look at communities neighboring us, many of them do not have or allow for chickens, and he doesn't talk at all about the bees, just the chickens. And he just feels like, some people he quotes in his email that some people are saying it's, for economic reasons that they wanted to have chickens. And he's quite surprised by that because there's obviously, as even noted earlier, a lot of cost associated with chickens and maintaining them and feeding them and caring for them. And, eggs could be bought at a pretty reasonable price at the local market. So he, is very concerned about his property values if chickens are allowed, and that, there should be an agreement between neighbors if it's, okay for one neighbor to have a chicken coop, and, if your next door neighbor is okay with that.
Anyone else on the council have anything? Mr. Klista? Need unmute, son.
Thank you, Mayor. First question I have is, when we're saying chickens, we're saying chickens that are laying eggs. But I believe the speaker mentioned it takes 3 to 4 months until you start having eggs. So I guess we'd probably have to define, is it just 8 chickens are laying eggs and potentially 4 more chickens that are growing to be full size? I think you have some variance in there, whether they're chickens that are laying eggs or still growing. So I think that needs to be looked at. Also, too, earlier we mentioned about going on a property and checking maintenance and how clean it is. And the question I have about that is if we can open it up to dogs or not have it, because I have a neighbor that I get complaints every other month of dog feces all over her backyard. And the city of Darien cannot go into this resident's yard and force her to clean dog feces all over her backyard. So I don't see a difference between having a chicken or a dog. If we're gonna force it on a resident that owns chickens to have the city go in there and be able to inspect, then we might as well open up for dogs as well, because I have a resident with so many complaints on the same thing as well. So
I'm sorry, Tom.
I'd like to see both.
Yeah, if I could interrupt for a minute, if there's feces to the point that you describe it as, that is an unsanitary-like condition. So provided that the neighbor or someone allows us into their yard to witness it and to be able to have a complaint on it, we may have the opportunity to look into it further. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, they won't let you guys in. So we brought this up. So it just,
Just the neighbor.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So I just want to make sure, even for if we do all chickens or if we do all dogs, that it's even for whichever animals we decide.
Mr. Gondek, it's my belief then that what we will be doing is we will be looking at all the data you've accumulated regarding other communities and their ordinances regarding fowls or chickens, and that we will be meeting with municipal services, presenting that data. And again, those meetings will be open to individuals who want to come in and provide additional information. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
Okay. For those of you in the audience, then I'll end this discussion at this point.
And I'll indicate to you that we will be looking at ordinances from other communities. Mr. Kenny, Alderman Kenny, just submitted one today for Downers Grove that I read this afternoon. I found some items in there that I thought were appropriate with regard to the size of the coop, the height of the coop, what's called a tractor area that allows chickens to run. Heather, you referred to opening of like 15 by something that allows chickens to be out during the day. And all of those things are specified in the Downers Grove ordinance. So we'll be looking at those ordinances. I know this doesn't solve the issues that were presented tonight, but we wanted to hear from people. I know that there's, Melissa, you and your neighbor have a particular situation, which I would like to see you guys be able to remedy. We may not be able to wait for an ordinance to deal with that, but we are going to be working on something. Just as long as you know that it could impact you in terms of where that coop is and how those chickens are handled, just so you're aware of that. Okay?
Mr.
All right,
Mayor.
that ends our Alderman Vaughn.
I think Dan has something to say really quick.
Yes, go ahead, Alderman Vaughn.
I just want to state for the record, for Melissa and Jim, I think the easier solution would be to put up a fence on our yard. I think that's would solve the problem with the eyesore, I would say. But someone alluded to property values. Maybe Joe Kinney or Ted can weigh in on this. Do chicken coops reduce your property values? Because what I see from the market is that properties in Darien are going pretty fast. So I don't think chicken coops decrease your property values. Can you guys clarify that just for the record?
I mean, I can say that if I got a buyer and we're pulling up to a property and the chickens are all over and it's just not kept well, I do believe that would affect the property value. How much would affect the property value? That I can't say, but it would be reasonable to believe that if it's showing as a nuisance or as an eyesore, there's a good chance that buyer is not going to want that. If that's the case, then that will tend to drop a value. Now, an appraiser coming through a property, obviously he's not, taking points off on an appraisal. But I think to the buying public, that definitely does cause a concern for a property value deduction.
Mr. Frydeg, is it possible to put a tent, or excuse me, a fence up between your property and her property or are they right on the property line?
It's possible to put privacy fence up between the things you're asking for. The city council to enforce and have them do that. I can't because it's in my front yard. I have to put fence in my front yard unless you want to give me a change in the ordinance. I can do that.
You included pictures of this coop in your report. Okay. We have a copy of that for all the aldermen.
Okay.
Okay.
Melissa? Just one more comment.
We can't hear them.
We can't hear you, by the way. I'm going to ask Mr. Frydeg to come back too.
I just wanted to specify on a couple of topics that you each individually spoke on. My coop specifically is at least, I haven't measured, 15 to 20 feet away from their property line. So that is well within the suggested ordinance. It is so tall so we can walk into it. So other things that was just mentioned is that it's not going to change the appraisal. I think it highly depends on a personal perspective of a new buyer that Joe, I think it was, just spoke on. I don't think it's going to be every single person that would be deterred, but that goes for literally anything. Somebody could dislike the neighbor's house for many different purposes, but it could also be, oh wow, this is a really great up and coming neighborhood. They're growing food. They have these chickens. There has never been a time where I did not allow somebody to come see the coop. And if it wasn't kept well, I wouldn't allow people to come up. I wouldn't allow people to see it. Just like what was your name? Tom spoke of. These people with the dogs, they hide that. Why? Because it's an issue. I have nothing to hide. Nothing to hide whatsoever. So it can't be that big of an issue if it's all right there. It's in my backyard.
In the interest of fairness, if you'd like to get up and make a few additional comments, sir, so we could hear you at the microphone. You might want to answer that question initially about the fence.
In original conversations with Alderman Belzak and other people, we've commented about a privacy fence. A high privacy fence would solve a lot of the issue and problem with the eyesore issue with it. We did not have a fly issue until the coop went in. In 37 years, I've never had to hang a fly strip inside my house. I do now. The fly traps that I have are outside. You'll be able to see those in the pictures. And then just the comment, she said that she'd never known we had an issue with it until today. Last week, my grandkids were over. Her kids' first thing they said was, you're the people, you're staying with the people that made us get rid of our rooster. They don't like us. So that's been an issue for a long time. Thank you.
All right. Again, now I'm going to end the discussion. And I'll inform all of you that our municipal services meeting will take place on the last Monday of September. And at that point, Mr. Gombeck will have data together, which he'll present to his committee. Dan, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just expound on Alderman Vaughn's comment earlier. What I'd like to do is get in contact with the Friday residents as well as Melissa to see what we could do to offer some type of amicability, mitigation in order to see what the actual situation is and whether it's a screening fence. So I'll personally address that with both.
Talking prior to municipal services meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. Well, all of you for coming out tonight.
We're going to move on with our agenda. You're welcome to stay, but this ends our discussion on the chickens. You're welcome. It takes us to approval of the minutes for August 3rd, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve
the minutes for August 3rd, 2020? Alderman Kenny, seconded by Alderman Schauer. Any questions or comments? Yeah, I'm going to let them exit the room. It's a little bit noisier here. You're welcome, sir. Take care. Any questions or comments? If none, the roll.
Kenny. Shower.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Klistick.
Aye.
Gustafson.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Minutes have been approved.
Takes us to receiving of communications. Do any of the aldermen have communications for the council tonight? Alderman Shower.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got two communications. One's from Matt Reincar, who lives at 7717 Stratford. And he had an issue with ComEd. Obviously, with the storms last weekend, we lost power. Most people were out for about a couple hours, maybe an hour or so. Unfortunately, Matt was out for almost 24 hours. It went, 20 hours or so. And that's usually not a big issue because we can't really control what goes on with ComEd. But the issue that he brought up is that there's about 12 homes in his area that all are pretty much interconnected. And when the power goes out, this happens at these 12 homes on a regular basis. Now, I know we had a situation 10 years ago. We were looking into some power lines being down. And again, I don't know if they're overhead or underground. That's not the issue, but it's a consistent basis with these 12 homes. So I was hoping that maybe we could contact ComEd and find out what's going on with these 12 homes and seeing if they're out on a regular basis and figure out if there's some issue there or not. So again, that's 7717 Stratford. The other communications I got was from Lyra Kapika at 1704 Lakeview Drive. Basically, at the end of Marco, there was some sewage seepage, and Chris Rom got involved as well as Regina. And this is a county situation, and they've alerted the county of what's going on. So, Larry, if you're listening, the bottom line is we'll have the county check that on out. That's about it.
By the way, Chad, we have Bill Halliburton from ComEd here tonight.
Okay.
So Bill can address that issue. And anybody else? Alderman Gustafson.
Yeah, I have received communications from various residents in multiple areas of my ward regarding motorized scooters not obeying traffic laws. And currently, I don't believe Darien has any type of ordinance around this, but I just wanted to check with the other aldermen if they've gotten any concerns from their residents at all. Because I'm getting an onslaught of people getting a hold of me regarding these scooters. I don't know. Has anybody else run into this?
Are these mopeds or are they small electric scooters? Can you define what do you mean by
They're both.
scooter?
They're both the actual stand-up type of scooters and the sit-down type of scooters. But they're supposedly are exceeding the speed limits on the streets. I mean, these kids are flying on these things, flying through the stop signs and ignoring all kinds of traffic rules. No helmets on the kids. You know, some of these are 8-9-year-old kids.
Anyone else having a similar issue? Okay.
So I don't know what the best way to address this, Mr. Mayor, of what can be done, or how do we go forward? I don't know if the police chief has any thoughts.
It's something we need to talk about. Obviously, the other aldermen aren't having an issue, so this might be something that's unique to your area. You are actually getting calls and complaints from residents saying you have scooters speeding up and down their streets. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm getting, and I've been driven over there a few times when the people have called, and unfortunately I haven't caught the kids yet, but yeah, I'm getting phone calls that, the kids are just flying down the street. And I've actually got a video of one of the kids, flying down the road on one of these vehicles.
So Eric, it's not multiple people on vehicles in your ward speeding. It's just a select, family or two with a scooter. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's a few kids. I would probably venture to guess what I'm hearing is a good 9 or 10 of these kids.
Chief Thomas, are you guys getting any complaints about scooters?
Just from me.
The complaints we received were the same ones that Alderman Gustafson received. We did have a conversation with the parents, and I don't know if Eric or Alderman Gustafson, if you have had any complaints in like the last week, because the mom said that she was not going to let the kids drive those anymore.
Okay, I haven't heard anything in the last 3 days, so that's good. So I appreciate you doing that. Maybe that did the trick. Because it's, and that's what it comes down to, is the parents, monitoring their kids on these vehicles, because someone's going to get hurt.
We'll continue to monitor it, and if you have any, call.
Okay, thank you.
Any other communications? Alderman Kenny?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I got a complaint. It's 180 degrees the opposite way. These are about parked vehicles, not moving vehicles. Third District Board Member Brian Krajewski has reached out to me a couple times in the last month. He likes to go to Waterfall Glen, take a walk, go to Starbucks at 75th and Cass in Darien Point. And there's been 2 instances there where he's sitting out there having his coffee and somebody just parks in the handicap spot, no placard, no plates, is very able to go in and out. So I reported it to Chief Thomas, but people are using the handicap spot, illegally at Darien Point at the Starbucks. That's one. I got a Jackie Carson, the 75th and Adams. She's complaining about garbage not being picked up. I told her by our garbage contractor to just give me a call or give a city hall a call if she runs into any issues with that. She's also in favor of an ordinance for chickens to just put an ordinance together, not totally getting rid of them, but just have proper way of maintaining them. And then I also got a call tonight from Steve Leopoldo regarding the chicken issue as well. And that's all I have.
Anyone else? Mary?
Thank you. Going back to what Ted was talking about, the power outages, I've been in communication with municipal services and the city. There was quite a large area in my ward in Brookridge Creek and in Carriageway West that was without power for 3 full days during the outage. And they've had problems in the past too. So I know Dan and Chris and other people at City Hall, Lisa Clem, Brian, are talking to ComEd and trying to get to the bottom of this, because it does seem like we all lost power. At least I did for a few hours on that Sunday, but their issues lingered. And I know this was a very severe storm, but it seems like when the power does go out in our community, they seem to be without the longest. So I know that that's being looked into, because I had several residents in both communities reach out to me continually during that time. I do want to thank the Darien Police Department, and many of my neighbors want to echo that. On my street, there was that ruse burglary attempt last week where someone came to the door of a neighbor of mine pretending to be a city service worker. And clearly it was, a ruse burglary. I think the police department did an excellent job communicating to the community via Facebook and Twitter, alerting everybody about this situation and to be aware and to be alert. I have received communications from residents in Pinehurst, and I've been in communication with the president of the Homeowners Association, Lou Mallers, as well as with Lou Ramadani and Brian Broderick at Carriage Greens. There has been an excessive amount of individuals using the golf course as a walking path. And it's very dangerous. I am a golfer, so I understand how the game is played and how you can be hitting the ball and not know where people might be. But it's very important that the community realize that the golf course is not open to the public in the sense of where you can walk the paths, walk your dog, push your stroller. It's very dangerous to be on a golf course as a non-golfer. And so Carriage Greens is looking at maybe putting up some fencing and signing to kind of discourage that. I think people got used to using the course when it was closed during the early spring, but now it would be, very dangerous for you as a non-golfer to be out there. And I highly discourage anybody from doing that. It's for your own safety. They did also incur some damage on 2 greens a couple weeks ago where kids had ridden their bikes and done some pretty severe damage. And they're trying to rectify that with the police and with the families. But, no one should be riding their bike on the golf course either. And youth should not be, having a party and damaging the greens. So we have been working with them trying to rectify that. I also heard from Heidi Ramirez. There's some water and drainage issues on Glen Eyre Road, and we're working with the city. They have been pursuing that in the past with offering some, pricing and information about drainage projects, which I know is out of the budget now, but I've given her all that paper back. And just lastly, trying to work with some of the residents in Brookridge Creek again with some concerns they have about traffic as it relates to the Honeybee Farm, and just making sure that the traffic, if it gets backed up, is monitored.
Thank you, Mary.
Anyone else? I'd like to basically add to Mary's statement regarding the issues with the storm last week. I have a subdivision where half the subdivision went off on Monday evening with the storm, and they didn't come back till Wednesday morning. And what they found disturbing is that we had two ComEd trucks behind my house, which is on Kearney Road, where the outage was. There was a power line that was knocked down by a tree, and these two trucks sat there for 3 hours waiting for a tree person to come and cut the branch. And he said, he actually told us, he said, we could be done in 15 minutes if somebody would come out and cut that tree branch or cut that tree. He said that's how long it would take to fix it. They were there from 7:30 in the morning till after 11. They left at 11 o'clock. They never came out and cut the branch. And these power people went all day Tuesday evening, and into Wednesday morning, when they finally got somebody out there to cut the branch. And they found that disturbing because this happens to them quite a bit. So Mary got some of those same calls from residents in my subdivision. And I actually walked the subdivision Tuesday night and tried to meet with people, and they were told it would come back on at 3 p.m. by Saturday, and people thought that was outrageous. And I told them, ComEd always gives you the worst possible scenario. It simply means that all the outages should be solved by Saturday. So I was trying to reassure people of them. But that compounded by the fact that they knew somebody was out there working and it didn't get fixed bothered them. The other thing is people called 1-800 Edison, and that just didn't work. And I think you guys know that didn't work. And so I have Phil Halliburton, who is our ComEd rep here tonight. And Phil, can you come up and address some of these concerns? Because you've heard mine, you heard Mary's, you heard Ted's, and kind of reassure us that things aren't going to be that bad again.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, good. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to be here this evening, speak to you and to address some of your concerns. So first, you're 100% right here. So we do know that there were some issues that happened on our system with the 800 number, and also I think a few with the website in terms of reporting outages through the system. The storm that came through on Monday night was I'd say my 13 years of working in the utility industry, one of the two worst storms I've ever seen. Hurricane Sandy when I was in New York, and this particular one. We had as of today, it was reported that there were 13 tornadoes that touched down in our service territory. 100 mile an hour plus winds, golf ball size hail. There was a compounding amount of issues that came through, and it came through so quickly, and it did an enormous amount of damage across our system. So I'm not saying that to make it an excuse. I'm saying that because I kind of want to give you an understanding of what we were up against and what happened. Our system just got overwhelmed. There were that many calls and that much that came in at one particular time. And we have addressed most of the concerns or most of the issues with our system geared around the website and around the 1-800 number. But I completely understand what you and the other members of council are saying in terms of this was a detriment to your community. So I'm at the comment. I would say we work on that. We're continuing to move forward, and we do not expect that to happen again. It wasn't something that we expected to happen. We've gone through storms and the system has operated perfectly, or operated well. So we've had, and it's just like technology. Sometimes things work and sometimes they don't. Unfortunately, when they don't, we do our best to address them. In terms of the outages itself, so we do have our crews that were out. Like you said, we had a crew that responded that night. Unfortunately, we don't have as many tree trimming crews, and so usually we have ASPON, but we have other contractors that we work with to do the tree trimming. And so again, based on the enormity of the amount of trees, the amount of, I had pictures coming in, and almost every one of my communities had trees down everywhere. And so based on just the sheer volume of the damage and the amount of trees that were uprooted, broken, limbs everywhere, we just ended up with, unfortunately, a shortage of tree trimmers, that could respond at that particular moment in time. That's another concern that has come to us from other communities also. So that is something that I have rolled up to my leadership to make sure that they're aware of it for us to be able to hopefully address it.
Phil, I think that bothered people was not knowing when.
Yeah.
I think we all have experienced outages. I know I have. But when you can call and you have a ETR and you know that it might be out for a couple hours, then you're going to get it back. That's reassuring. But people would call me. I had people calling me, I had people emailing me, thinking as mayor, I knew that information and they weren't being told that information. And I had nothing to give them except to say that we're waiting to communicate with ComEd. Lisa Klein here had communication and indicated that we needed some information, and at that point then we got that information, and I was able to share that. Now with regard to the tree trimming, the gentleman who was the two trucks that were behind my house in the area where the outage was told us that these trees are not being trimmed enough, we can't keep up with the growth. And because every time we have a storm like that, we've had an outage in that area, and one of those lines gets hit by one of those trees. And this was a ComEd guy in a truck that said, the problem is they don't trim the trees enough to stay away from the power lines. This is one of your guys, okay? And I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble, I'm just saying that the tree trimming appears to be an issue, but that's just in that one area, okay? Now, I know in Mary's area, there was a lot of concern. Ted had some. I talked to people who had no outages at all, but I know that in Ward 5, we had quite a number of homes that didn't come back online till Wednesday morning. And that's a concern. And people had generators running. People were concerned. I had neighbors who lost food in their refrigerators and in their freezers because they couldn't run the generators on everything, and there are some pumps included. So I realize that compared to where we were 15, 16 years ago when we had the substation fire, we're in a much better position now. But when an outage occurs, people get upset. And when they don't know when it's coming back on, or at least have a reasonable estimate, they get upset. And we can't answer those questions. Only you guys can, and you guys were unavailable for us.
And again, that's another concern that I've received. Again, because of the sheer magnitude of the damage. So one of the things that occurs when we have a storm like this that happens, we go and we do damage assessment. So we get our regular system, and part of that conversation is, why we're here tonight. We have some parts of our system that is on a smart grid automatic, and then after that does its job, then we can go. That's one of the reasons why the outage was probably smaller in Darien than it was in other areas, and some areas are shorter than other areas because of the investment that we've done in the system. In addition to that, though, there are times that we do still have to go out. You know, after we kind of narrow it down and pinpoint what it is, we have to go out and we have to make the assessment. Until we can make that assessment, we may not be able to give you an estimated time, because the last thing we want to do is give you a time, and then that time comes and goes, and then it's an incorrect estimate. And because, again, of how much damage there was, I mean, I have photos of not just our regular distribution, but our transmission lines, those lines that bring power into communities, so multiple municipalities, so to bring to a substation in multiple municipalities. We had lines that were snapped, completely snapped out in Harvey that were completely gone, full rows. So, you know, imagine that, and then imagine also on a smaller scale in your local municipality, where you have trees coming down on those lines, you've got all trees in people's houses, people, you know, it was just, unfortunately, such an epic storm that it was hard to just pinpoint an ETR at that particular time. We had to do a real assessment of all the damage we were seeing. And then when we have a storm this large, you said it perfectly, what ComEd does is we do what we call a universal estimated time of restoration. And that universal time of restoration is to say, we expect that we will get a majority of all of our customers affected by this particular storm back by this date. And that's why that Saturday date came out. In terms of communication, we will continue to work on it. We appreciate the feedback that you and the aldermen are giving us, because this is what helps us in the future to be able to make this a better process. What I would ask is, if it is possible, just because I know I have the email from Alderman Sullivan, and for Alderman Shower, excuse me. I'm not sure if I have those addresses, if either someone can send those to me, or if you want to give them to me right now, but if someone wants to email those to me with the list of addresses, I can look. So for those that I'm doing, I would have to do the same thing that I'm doing for Alderman Sullivan's area, is to look at those particular addresses and see what the history of the outages, what the causes of the outages were, and what the durations and so on and so forth were. And then from there we can pinpoint. So for example, if it is a situation like you described in terms of a tree situation in your district, and I'll address the comments by the gentleman in a second, but if it's a situation where it's a tree issue, then we know that we may need to go out ahead of our cycle trim, our 3 or 4 year trim, and do some trimming early. Or we may need to, put some mitigation in if we can. So those are the things that we look for to see if we can do it. I would say to you, our tree trimming folks do the trimming based on their standard. It's not that we don't trim far enough, because I have communities that look at us and tell us we trim way too much. Like, they'll see the tree and we take a decent part of the tree out because we do it on a cycle. And we have some municipalities that hate the way it looks. But we do it to keep the tree healthy and to make sure that we have enough clearance for our system. So I would have to, I don't know why, if it was frustration or what he may have made a comment out of, but I wouldn't say that we don't trim, because we do it by a standard. So when our tree trimming, our veg management group goes out and trims trees, they do it by that standard. It's universal for us.
You know what I'd like to do, Phil? We talked about this last year when I first got elected. You came in to see me. You presented us a report. Brian and I sat there with you, and we were going to get together, and you were going to get a format put together where we're going to present to the council all the improvements and things that have been done with power in Darien, and we haven't done that. And we have some new council people that I think would appreciate that if you could come in when you have that put together, because I want people to know that where we are now is much different and much better than where we were 10, 15 years ago, and there have been significant improvements. But I want them to be able to hear that.
I'll definitely do that. That's not a problem. And again, I appreciate all the feedback and information that you, as the alderman, are giving to me, because this is your community. These are your neighborhood. So you have the intel to tell us what's going on. And that's the only way that, not the only way, but that's the great thing about the partnership that we have, is that we can then take that back and try to address it. So thank you very much for that.
Well, Ted, get us those addresses, Ted. And Mary, if you have specific addresses, get us the addresses, and we'll get those to Phil so he can check to see why those are out more often. Mary?
I'll
Yeah,
send
I
Lisa and Brian. Okay.
I'm pretty sure Lisa and Brian have a lot of them because many of the people that obviously emailed me also called City Hall. So I will make sure that we've got everyone looped in. But Phil, I do know, like, one of the bigger complaints, especially in Brookeridge Creek by where Mayor lives, is definitely the root cause over there was the trees. And that, one resident used the words, the trees are the growth of the trees is out of control. So I think maybe an assessment of the tree situation there is overdue.
And so, like I said, we'll definitely take that into consideration, and I'll talk to our vice manager group. One of the things I will say, and I would ask, that we may come back, because I've seen this happen, and I'm not saying it happens in Darien, but I've seen it happen, is that I found being in Illinois, people are very, very territorial about their trees, and they love their trees. And so sometimes even when we do want to trim, we do get some pushback from folks. And I'm not saying that's the case here, but if that is the case, I'll also be reaching out to Dan and to everyone just to try to work with us and work with the customer to see if that is the issue, what it is. And again, to make sure that we're doing it within the standards, because we have to, that's one of the educations I've gotten living in Illinois and working for ComEd, is that you have to trim a tree a certain way. And you would think it would be a very simple process, but sometimes it's healthier for the tree to take a larger section of the tree out than just to take a part of the limb. And I found that out long time ago. But it's one of those interesting things that I'm not a subject matter expert on, but we defer to our venture management folks on it. The other thing that I would say also, and thank you, Brian, for bringing it up, is that one of the key things that we also are going to ask for your assistance on, and I say it all the time when we come out, is anytime we have an outage, because if your constituents have an outage, or if they have an issue, we need to have a record of it so I can track it and so I can push it. And the best way, aside from understanding that this storm we had the issue, but we can do it either through the 1-800 number, through the mobile app, even for the city, like when we have streetlights, we have a new portal now that you can go in. And I know in the past that was another suggestion that had come to us in the past, that when they did a streetlight report, there was an issue. Now we have a whole new portal where you can go in, you can check the status. If it doesn't show, you can even enter it, and it creates the number, and you send that. Once I have that ticket number, that's when I can take off running. That ticket number is key for me because it helps. Because a lot of times I may not have some of the detailed information that my departments might need. But whoever enters the ticket, if it's the customer or if it's the city, if they know it, that helps a lot and it saves time. So I'll just ask for your assistance on that also.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Phil while he's here? Alderman Klissner?
Tom?
Hi, Phil. Thanks for coming. Good. Thanks for coming out and speaking. You mentioned with regards to the trees, I think one thing I probably want to make a quick comment is the last couple of years we've had unbelievable rain events.
Yeah.
And do you believe that those rain events potentially have helped the growth in the trees in our community?
We've definitely seen that a lot. And that's one of the reasons why I say I get emails all the time from residents and from the municipalities saying, hey, Phil, a customer said there's an issue with the tree. Same situation. If I get that ticket number, and I'm sure Lisa and Dan can attest to it, if I get that ticket number, I can usually get somebody from my venture management group out there, fairly quickly. It may not be that exact day, but definitely within that week, to take a look at that tree and say, okay, this is an issue, it's not an issue, we believe that it will be a problem, we may come back, and so on and so forth. So I do that daily, in terms of getting a report. Hopefully I won't get 100 a day, but I do get them on a regular basis where we do send people out. So if you do, and that is the situation, like you said, we've gotten a lot of rain the last couple of years, and because of that, it's helped with the exponential growth of some of these trees.
I would imagine historically in a company, you look at how many years passed and the budget needed to trim those trees, and then we've gone from a linear curve to an exponential amount of rain, and everything's just growing. So okay, that's all I had. So thank you.
Bill, thank you very much. Contact Brian.
Let us know when there's a possibility you can come out and make a presentation to the council. Thanks for coming tonight.
Not a problem. Did you have any questions for me on the other matter?
We'll get you some information on those locations.
Okay. No, I meant regarding the variance for today. Did you have any questions, or are we?
I don't.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. My apologies.
Thank you. All right, that finishes receiving communications. That takes us to the mayor's report. And as you know, we're back to meeting utilizing a virtual format. And my motivation for this is that I get weekly reports from the health department. And from middle to late June till now, we've shown an increase in the positivity rate, which has an impact on, I think, our overall safety and health of our community. And as we approach the fall season, the health department said that they recommended that all of you take a look at getting your influenza vaccination, because that we can control. And they said you're going to be hit by a dual enemy this October, this fall, and that is we're going to be dealing with influenza as well as dealing with COVID. And while the vaccine for influenza cannot solve the coronavirus, it can lessen the duration and the severity of the influenza virus. So they even mentioned or promoted the idea of getting your children their shots. And if you're looking at places that are offering it now, there are a few places that are doing it now. I know we'll see more of it in September or so, but I would emphasize to people that they really take advantage of getting those flu shots. The other thing is with all of us wearing masks, all of us washing our hands, all of us practicing social distancing, the health department believes we might even see fewer cases of flu this year because we're already taking good measures to keep ourselves safe. So I just wanted to mention that. And then lastly, I wanted to mention that I had an opportunity yesterday to go to Mark DeLay School and see the dedication of the Joey Ventimiglia Memorial Baseball Field. This is a beautiful field that was dedicated to this little boy who had a brain tumor, who passed away several years ago at age 8. Joey loved baseball. He had a dream of becoming a professional baseball player, and he loved playing for DYC. And this field was put together. It's a beautiful field, brick dugouts, new fencing, new infield, new outfield. Just beautifully done, and it's really a combination of a lot of people who put in a lot of time and effort. Special thanks to the DYC, special thanks to the District 61 and to the Lions Club, who all contributed to this. And I also wanted to give a shout out to our Sergeant Squares. Nick Squares is the head of DYC, and Nick really put all of this together. And I want to thank him for that effort. He really worked hard on it. And besides being one of our excellent police officers, Nick is very dedicated to his community, and this is a manifestation of that love for his community. Nick played DYC when he was a kid, and he's working to assure that other children have the same opportunities he had. So many thanks to Nick, and many thanks to those organizations for the work on the Joey Ventimiglia Memorial Field. If you get a chance, go over behind Mark DeLay School and take a look at the new field. And that's all I have. Do we have anything? Is there anybody else in the audience, Brian? No. Okay. That takes us to the city's clerk report. Joanne?
I have 2 items this evening. City offices will be closed on Monday, September the 7th, in honor of Labor Day. And the next city council meeting will take place on Tuesday, September the 8th.
Thank you, Joanne. City administrator's report.
No report, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, department head information questions, and we heard things from you with regard to the chickens and the bees. Are there any questions for Chief Thomas? Okay, any questions for Dan on anything other than chickens and bees?
Mayor?
Brian?
Dan, I'm sorry, could you just give a quick update, or any
Information you might have on the 75th Street project. And also Alderman Clistic, I think last meeting or meeting before, had asked about that architectural code review. If you can just update that, please.
All right, thanks, Brian. Yeah, there's a couple other items I have. 75th Street, we're looking at, the anticipation is that September, it should be completed, whether it's the middle of September or towards the end of September. We're hoping to have all the full lanes open then. And that's barring any utility conflicts that have been ongoing at this point. Also, as Brian mentioned, Alderman Clistic had brought up the issue in regards to architectural code review. Also, Alderman Gustafson had made mention of that. Again, this is something that we put on the back burner, if you want to say, especially due to the COVID cases. And while we tried to look at municipalities that had such items, it was very difficult to communicate with them. So it's still an ongoing issue. And again, just so the city council is aware of it, we do not have any major developments that will require such things. But I do want to make sure that the city council is aware of when a subdivision does come in. For example, the Rolling Knolls, I know that the committee and city council did look at the architectural elevations and made suggestions, just like we did with the recent Dunkin' Donuts. So while we may not have it in the code, every application is a little bit different. So we do make the best fit for the application, but we will process it here within the next couple of months as well.
And Dan, then whatever, I think you were, Joe was going to finish up the survey. Are you bringing that then to your committee, or is that, I don't recall the next step?
The goal was to bring it back to city council and to see if there was going to be any further action that would require any movement to bring it back to the committee.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And in respect to brush pickup, obviously with the epic storm that we just recently had, our crews have been out and about taking care of storm damage. And at the same time, they did see piles of brush out there. Trying to stay ahead of it a little bit, they did pick up residents' brush. And again, our primary goal was to go and look at any hanging branches that needed immediate removal. So our crews were able to do that. But I do want to remind residents that the 24th, we do have a full brush pickup again. So again, residents are encouraged to put their brush out there. We wanted to make sure we had every resident had plenty of time, and to make sure that we address the storm issue in a timely fashion as well. Thank you.
Anything else for Dan or Chief? If not, then we'll move to Tom.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to say a few residents reached out to me to thank the city employees for coming out so quickly and picking up that brush. There's a lot of brush out there. Their week is scheduled way in advance. So when they have to drop everything, that's quite important as well. And to go around picking up brush, it sometimes puts other things behind schedule, but the city services did an amazing job picking everything up on my street, other streets throughout Darien. So just a good job there, Dan, with the team from Municipal Services.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to the team as well.
Thanks, Tom. All right. That takes us
to our treasurer's report. Treasurer Corrin.
Thank you, Mayor. This evening, I'm requesting council's approval of warrant number 2020-108 in the amount of $608,600.14 from the listed funds. Payroll for the period ended August 13th in the amount of $262,740.10 for a total to be approved of $871,340.24.
Motion to approve. Alderman Vaughn, seconded by Alderwoman Sullivan. Question or comments? If none, the roll.
Vaughn.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Clistic.
Aye.
Beltack.
Aye.
Gustafson.
Aye.
Shower.
You're muted.
7 ayes.
7 ayes. Warrants approved. We have 3 monthly reports, Mike. I think you're going to read the July 2020, correct?
Right. We have reports for May, June, and July, the first 3 months of our fiscal year. The auditors have basically completed their audit, so these numbers are tentative, but they are really pretty well final. The auditors will be presenting at the Finance Committee meeting on September 8th and to the full council on the first meeting that we have in October. That being said, the revenue and expenditure report for the first 3 months show the general fund year-to-date revenue of $4,270,895, expenditures of $3,636,198, current balance of $2,800,233. Water fund year-to-date revenue of $1,214,106, expenditures of $1,246,477, current balance of $3,427,153. Motor fuel tax fund year-to-date revenue of $656,966, expenditures of $108,631, for current balance of $1,107,305. Water depreciation fund year-to-date revenue of $3,341, expenditures of $13,425, current balance of $2,428,910, and a capital improvement fund year-to-date revenue of $120,700, expenditures of $195,468, for a current balance of $5,367,759.
Any questions for Mike on the report? Mike, I think you also want to give us a report on the police pension board.
Yes, we also had a meeting of the Police Pension Board on Thursday, I believe it was August the 6th. The investment advisors who are managing approximately $31 million that exists in the police pension fund provided the report for the months for the second quarter. It's the calendar quarter, April, May, and June, which overlaps our fiscal year. Our fiscal year ends April 30th. So the April 30th portion was already reflected in the numbers as of April 30th. But it was a really good quarter. As everybody knows, the stock market came back very strongly, and the investment managers had a total account return for the quarter of 12.31%. That encompassed an equity return of 21.83%, but a fixed income return of only 1.69%. The difference there being we're only allowed by the state of Illinois to have no more than 65% of the account assets held in equity investments, with 35% in fixed income. That being said, the police pension trustees are not comfortable with going for that large an allocation to equities. So they're only permitting the investment advisors to invest 55% in equities and 45% in fixed income. And going forward, that's naturally going to cause a drag on the account. This fixed income, as everybody knows, interest rates are currently yielding really next to nothing. So the best we can hope for is maybe the coupon return on the fixed income. So 45% of our investments will only be earning about 2% going forward. The rest will have to be made up from the equity portion. I tried encouraging them to go with a little higher equity allocation, but they were not comfortable doing that at this point.
Questions for Mike?
I'm sorry?
I said any questions for Mike?
Sorry?
Okay, no questions for Mike. That takes us to standing committee reports. When do the aldermen have reports for the council? Alderman Vilsack.
Thank you, Mayor. Municipal Services will conduct their next committee meeting on September 28th at 7 p.m. in council chambers.
Thank you, Tom.
The Administrative Finance Committee will be meeting on September 8th at 6 p.m. In the conference room on the first floor of City Hall.
Thank you very much. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Police Committee will be meeting on Monday, September 21st at 6 p.m. across the parking lot in the police training room, depending on agenda items.
Thank you. That takes us to questions and comments, agenda related.
Anyone in the audience have any questions regarding anything that's on our agenda? That takes us to old business. There being no old business, we move to consent. There's nothing on our consent agenda, so we move right to new business. Item A, consideration of a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of one 2020 Chevy Tahoe police pursuit vehicle for the police K-9 unit from Miles Chevrolet using Department of Justice award money in the amount of $39,288. Motion to approve.
Alderman Shower, seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Questions or comments? If not, on the roll.
Shower,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Liston,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Gustafson,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
7 ayes.
It's been approved. Item A has been approved. Item B, consideration of a motion to approve a request to restore $10,000 in funds budgeted in line item 01-40-4815 and use the funds to provide a grant match in the amount of $10,000 for a home security camera rebate program grant. Motion to approve. Alderman Belzak, second by Alderman Kenny. Discussion. What I'd like to mention for residents is that this was an item that we originally were going to budget last year.
With COVID, or actually for this year, fiscal year, we cut it as we did a number of items. We were able to get a matching grant through Chief Thomas's efforts. And basically what this calls for is it gives residents an opportunity to actually go out and purchase a dedicated outdoor camera or outdoor cameras. And we will reimburse them once the camera has been installed and they've registered the camera with the Darien Police. And it doesn't mean that the Darien Police have access to it all the time. It simply means if there's a crime in the area, the Darien Police, they know you have a camera that might have recorded that, they will have an opportunity to take a look at your film on your camera if you have a playback of up to 72 hours. So there'll be some requirements. I believe Bryant will put something out to the public so the public knows all the conditions. But again, this is a very good program. Those of you who have always looked forward to getting outdoor cameras, this is your opportunity to get 1 or 2 of those cameras and get the city to reimburse you for the cost of those cameras. Anyone else have anything to add? If not, the roll.
Belzak,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Liston, Gustafson,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion's been approved. Item C, consideration.
Motion to approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of a 5-year, 3-location agreement from Vigilant Solutions using federal equitable sharing money award in an amount not to exceed $206,907. Motion to approve. Alderman Shower, second.
Second by Alderman Kenny. Any discussion? Chief, you want to spend a second and just explain this so the public knows exactly what this is? Chief Thomas?
Certainly. 3 devices or 3 locations where the police will be able to monitor traffic and identify which vehicles are going through those locations that have been stolen or have other types of wants or warrants on for the vehicle, and alerts us within a couple of seconds so that we can respond to the area and know what kind of vehicle we're looking for in order to make the stop and maybe make an arrest and hopefully deter and stop some of the burglary to motor vehicle and residential burglaries that have occurred.
Thank you, Chief. Eric, you got a question?
Yeah, Chief, is there any other computer costs that will have to be incurred to get the system up and running?
No, good question, but there's no other servers and the like that needs to be purchased.
Chief, Alderman Guston made a very good point during the work session. In case anybody read that article that I think he alluded to from 2016, maybe you may want to touch on that too, in case somebody may have had that same question that he had earlier.
Yeah, it was a very good question. Came here, we looked at a number of different programs and different things and looked at the budget. And one of the things that we saw was a significant reoccurring cost for ALPR that was attached to a vehicle. And so that vehicle would drive around neighborhoods and different things to see if they can locate a stolen car. So now you have a moving vehicle towards a moving vehicle, and very difficult to try to match those two up at the same location at the same time, where a fixed device, and having a vehicle drive past that is much more conducive to being able to locate the stolen cars and then being able to respond to them. Also, the moving radar or moving ALPR is in a vehicle that has some points of time where there's going to be full shift each day that it's not going to be driven or used. So the ALPR that it's fixed are 24/7.
Any other questions? If not, the roll.
Shower,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Gustafson,
Aye.
Sullivan. 7 ayes.
Motion approved. Item D.
Consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance approving a variation from section 5A-5-12C of the Darien zoning ordinance, PZC 2020-07, Lyman Avenue ComEd substation. Motion to approve.
Alderman Shower, second by Alderman Belzak. Any questions? Alderman Kenny.
Yes, Mr. I was looking through the packet. This did go through planning and zoning last week, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. I did not see any, minutes or any vote count on that at all.
The minutes weren't available yet, and it was a 7-0. It was unanimous.
Okay.
Anyone else? Alderman Gustafson.
Yeah, I was at that public hearing. I asked quite a few questions on ComEd regarding it, and there were, the thing I want to make clear on, there's in their packet and stuff, it shows the visibility from the homes and those within my ward, and the visibility that they showed is it's dramatically reduced when there's leaves on the trees. Now, when those leaves are gone, a good portion of Farmingdale Ridge homeowners are going to be able to see the tower, including my own from my front porch. I guarantee I'll see the tower. So it was a little misleading in how they displayed it of the visibility of the actual tower itself. Are they here to answer questions or?
Yeah, he's here. They're here.
I mean, I've got a question for them. I mean, the question I have for them is, and we kind of talked a little bit about at the public hearing, was if this tower is not installed in Darien, can a tower be installed outside of Darien that will still provide the same benefit to the system within the city of Darien? So can I get my cake and eat it too? Or does it have to be on this location?
It's not installed in Darien. Can it be installed anywhere outside the city of Darien and still provide what we needed to do?
Yes, that's the question.
So hi, thanks. My name is Chris Collins. I'm a senior manager at ComEd Exelon. I'm responsible for the deployment of the smart grid network for distribution automation. What we did, we looked at all of the potential substations for this specific need, all the potential substations in and around Darien. And this was the one that fit that bill what we needed. So to answer the question directly, there is not another one that would work for this for Darien.
Is this the one in Darien going to help other communities, or is it just help Darien?
Yeah, it's for Darien. If you have that packet, right now there's these switches and cappings.
Right.
That are communicating to towers outside of Darien, and those towers outside of Darien, they're meeting capacity of communications. We need something very local in Darien to serve those switches and cap banks within Darien. Not to mention, a couple hundred more that will be coming in the next couple of years. So.
And can you just briefly state what the major positive, what's the benefit of having this system?
Yeah, right. So there's really three main benefits. Okay, the first one is that it decreases the number of electrical outages. It also decreases the duration of an outage if an outage does occur. And then it assists with maximizing the efficiency of the voltage across the distribution line, so that in the past you might have to have a higher voltage on the line to make sure that voltage level at the end of the line is adequate. This will help us monitor the voltage along the line so that at the end of the line, that voltage is at its most efficient. So it's an energy efficient savings type of thing, and it allows for people just to run their motors, whatever, at sufficient voltage, especially at the end of the distribution line.
And that tower is only going to be used by ComEd. You're not going to sell space in the tower.
It's only for ComEd purposes. Absolutely correct. Yep.
Anything else?
That's all I had.
All right. If there's
nothing further, can we have the roll?
Shower,
Ted?
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Gustafson,
I'm going to say no.
Kenny,
Aye.
Sullivan, Vaughn.
Aye.
I have 6 ayes and 1 nay.
Motion's been approved. Takes us to item E, consideration of a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from ADS Environmental Services for the 2020 water leak survey in amount not to exceed $11,661. Motion to approve. Alderman Bozak, seconded by Alderman Shower. Questions or comments? Now the roll.
Belzak,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Gustafson,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Takes us to questions, comments, and announcements. Do any of the aldermen have anything they'd like to share with the council?
Thanks, Mayor. Just one quick comment. Mary mentioned, Alderwoman Mary mentioned about residents walking on Carriage Greens, and especially during golf times. This just sort of reminded me that we could use Carriage Greens potentially as an event out there. I'm just curious if they had any luck. I know if COVID-19 is sort of difficult, but if they've had any brainstorming or any opportunity to do any community events out there. In the meantime, with regards to the loan that they received to spruce up the place. So just wondering if there's any work on that, or they've done any effort to reach out to do anything.
We have talked
About having something at Carriage Greens. You know, we budgeted money that we had to take out of the budget that we had for concerts. Brian and I have talked about coming forward to you guys for the possibility of expenditures for movies, an outdoor movie, possibly some type of an event at Carriage Greens. It's something I would really like feedback from the council on, because it would involve an expenditure of money that we did not budget. I'd also like to know from you ideas on what you think would work well on Carriage Greens. You know, people are suffering from what we call COVID fatigue. You know, they're looking for opportunities to get out of their house. They're looking for opportunities to do things. And I really would like some suggestions from the council with regard to an event that you'd like to see within the community. It doesn't necessarily have to be at Carriage Greens, but something you'd like to see us promote. So if you'd be so kind to get me some of your ideas or send them to Brian, we can then bring them forward to the entire council and make a decision as to whether or not we want to hold an event. As you know, the Darien Lions Club Labor Day Parade's been canceled. Darien Fest has been canceled. The Lions Club Halloween party probably will not take place. So there's a number of events that the public is used to that will not be happening again this year. So it would be nice if there was something that people can kind of rally around to overcome this COVID fatigue. So please give me any ideas that you do have. Anything else? All right.
Mary Sullivan has her hand up.
Pardon me?
Mary Sullivan.
Mary, go ahead.
And just to respond, I know I've spoken with Carriage Greens, and they have they're very willing and ready to work with us. It's not that they're saying no, we just haven't pursued anything yet because it's, this situation is ever changing. A week ago, my high schooler was going back to school a couple days a week, and now pretty much system-wide, all schools, public schools, are doing full remote learning. So I think that, we should definitely explore with the fall coming, something that we can do safely, socially distancing. I know a lot of communities are doing drive-in movie theater type things where you stay in your car, or they're marking areas for families to sit together, who come together and reside together, can sit together. But yeah, I think, like Joe said, it's, we've got a long fall ahead of us with, no high school football games to go to, and really sporting events that, people are going to be looking for something to do safely with their kids who are going to be home all day going to school.
And again, I'm serious.
I would really like ideas from you. I think that it has to come from you guys because, again, the money's not been budgeted. If we decide that it's something we want to do and we all agree on it, then we'll find the funds for it. So please suggest some ideas.
Alderman. Before we go, I just wanted to make mention that District 61 went full remote to start the school year. Just wanted to say I'm very proud of the decision that the superintendent made and the board made to just go fully remote for the beginning of the year. So just want to make mention of that.
Thank you.
Else? If nothing else, motion to adjourn. Alderman Kenny.
Seconded by Alderman Shower. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy. Okay, we'll see all of you soon.
Take care. Be well.
Bye.